This episode of the Party Loaded podcast is proudly sponsored by Audible.com. Check out their awesome catalogue of audiobooks with over 180,000 titles to choose from. And be sure to grab a free audiobook on us and support the show by visiting audibletrial.com/endgame.
Let's party.
Hello friends, and welcome back to this Wednesday, the 15th of May. It is the Party Loaded podcast. My name is Luke Retallick. I'm joined by the gents tonight. We have Christian Paulson Brown and Matt, the birthday dad, diet, whatever. I popped that, but it's your birthday. Happy birthday.
Is it really your birthday, Matt? Today?
It is actually my birthday today. Yep.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Birthday dad doesn't sound the same as game dad. It has the slight inflection of the same tone, but no, I don't know what to make of that.
And
Happy birthday.
I like
Happy
how you
birthday.
said you're joined by the guys tonight as if Adrian's left out of that category.
Oh, no, Adrian. Adrian is not here tonight, unfortunately. He's suffering from the plague, but that's okay. We're going to have a fully sick night anyway without him. It's going to be great.
Yes.
So, yeah. But, yeah, Matt, happy birthday. What have you actually spent today doing? Anything cool sort of birthday life?
I gave myself today off to just chill out and do whatever I wanted, and most of that involved just relaxing and actually doing a bit of reading rather than playing games.
Oh, wow. Nice. What are you reading, if I'm
Like
not
analog games.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. I've got the Culture series that I'm borrowed for a friend, so I'm actually reading through like the first book in that. I've had them sitting around for like 6 months, and I'm just going to spend today relaxing and just reading that. So
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I actually got to do some reading this week myself as well. Like I read a real book for the first time in frickin' ages. I depress myself that I just don't read as much anymore. Like I listen to probably about 30, 40 hours worth of podcasts each week, but that kills my chances of getting books in these days. It's kind of depressing in a way, but
I've been trying to do this good routine stuff and like disconnecting from all my devices like an hour before bed and just laying in bed and reading, and I'm terrible at that habit. Like, I just don't do it. I always completely it's like, okay, well, it's midnight now. I can't stay up for another hour reading.
you know what's really good to do at midnight though? Video games.
Yes.
Not. Anyway, so let's talk about some of those. Matt, do you want to kick us off as the birthday boy with what you've been up to this week in said games? What have you been playing?
Well, I'm going to start off with the smaller thing. So in Destiny 2, there was a new event that happened. I think I mentioned it last week, where basically they had this dungeon and a special exotic weapon that turned up, and people were resolving all these puzzles and everything around trying to get it. Well, me and the other people that I play with on the PS4, we got together and actually took a shot at that dungeon. And so it's called 0 Hour, and basically you're pulling off a heist, or at least a counter heist, because it turns out some fallen houses have decided that, you might remember from Destiny 1, there was this thing called Seaver, which was like this nanotechnology that could infect things, and it was super dangerous, and the Fallen were using it to kind of infuse themselves. Mm-hmm. Well, in Destiny 2, you're basically pulling off this heist to go and get this exotic gun that fires these Seaver nanites that you actually had in Destiny 1, but the cool thing about this is that all of the lead up, and so if you play Destiny 2, like skip a couple of minutes ahead, because I'm about to start talking spoilers and lore stuff because it's super interesting. But the really cool thing about 0 Hour and the whole event around it is that it's an amazing blend of game lore with all the lore book stuff that they keep on kind of adding behind the scenes. That's just all this text to read and everything. And it's this really seamless blend of it. So you might remember from playing Destiny 2 when you were on Titan, there's an adventure where at the very end of it, you find a fallen captain fighting a hive knight.
Yep.
Yeah, you can decide to kill both of them, or you can kill just one of them. If you kill the hive knight, the fallen captain kind of just leaves without fighting you, and it's this really interesting moment, because it's like, wow, okay, so this is the first time a fallen has decided to not kill me. And it turns out that guy has a name, and he's been getting a whole bunch of lore stuff turning up in the background now. And the cool thing about 0 Hour is that the exotic quest that you start following turns out to all be messages from him. Because he's basically like, hey, some of the other fallen houses are getting together. Well, this other fallen house is basically going out there to find this really dangerous weapon, and I'm going to help you to get it before they do. And what's really interesting about him is he's the leader of a new faction within the Fallen that he's calling the House of Light, who want to work with Guardians.
Huh.
Yeah. And this stuff has all taken place kind of behind the scenes, like outside of the game, but now it's just suddenly happened in the game where we are working with a Fallen character to protect Guardians from Fallen getting their hands on Siva again. It's freaking awesome. And the gun is awesome too. Like, it is amazing to shoot. It's a lot of fun. And the dungeon is incredible. Like, there's this massive maze, there's all these really tough fights and everything. Like, it's basically fighting and then a massive maze that you're kind of finding your way through. And then another big fight, and you have to get it all done within 20 minutes. Otherwise, the Fallen escape with the weapon and you fail.
Oh, so it's a little bit like the Whisper of the Worm
Yes.
one that you had to do. Yeah.
Which I actually also completed that for the first time this week, and that is incredible as well.
That
like,
thing's so friggin' hard.
Creepy Vex is like my aesthetic. That dungeon is amazing. But this is very much the same. It actually takes place in the tower, like an old dilapidated version of the tower from Destiny 1, so it's all destroyed and everything. There's some really funny visual gags in there, so if you remember the purple ball from Destiny 1, it's actually deflated on some stairs and has some cones around it. Yeah, it's really cool. Like, super, super awesome content.
So, question about the story stuff: is it like what's happened recently with the Gambit stuff with the Drifter, where you get like video cutscenes, or is this more just sort of in-game text stuff?
It's all in-game text stuff, basically. So like, the quest line and everything has a whole bunch of stuff from Mithrax that kind of hints at what is going on with him. Like, he talks in all these riddles, basically, that he's sending you around to find a code, basically, that tells you where to meet with him. And he talks a lot about, we have similar histories and everything like this, talking about the Fallen history and the Guardians history, places where the Fallen currently live, and the fact that they kind of live in squalor and everything like this, and that he wants to kind of have a better way by working with the Guardians, because if they work with the Guardians, they don't have to live in squalor, basically. So there's the whole idea, the gist of it. And yeah, so it's not like a lore book like you can sometimes get through Triumphs or that sort of thing, where you have to actually sit down and read through a whole bunch of text. It's much more small than that. And then the actual 0 Hour strike itself, like the dungeon, I should call it, is a lot more kind of environmental storytelling on the way through, and kind of working out who it is that's trying to steal this. Like, some enemies are actually named in such a way that they tell you which Fallen house it is that's doing the theft. Okay. And you can connect that to stuff that you know from reading the lore books if you've gone through and read them. It's basically like as somebody that's super into the Destiny lore, it's really interesting. So it's one of the first times that we've seen a whole lot of this stuff behind the scenes actually really playing out in game, in a really interesting way. And it's kind of side content, like it's not main game content, so it's not got a lot of that massive effort put into it, which is not to understate. Like, the dungeon's incredible. Like, Whisper of the Worm is amazing. This is also amazing. But it's not like cutscene dropping in the same way that you would expect the campaign to, right?
Yeah. I think one of the things that probably makes it cool is that this far into the current expansion cycle, like with the next season sort of starting up soon, this is kind of unexpected, like this level of content. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like, lore like this changes everything, right? Like, now we go into Destiny 3 with some expectations around what's going to happen with the Fallen.
For sure.
Like, there's a couple of Fallen houses. Like, I could go ranting on about the lore and everything like that, but we're dealing with the House of Light right now, but there's also the House of Judgment, which we met in Destiny 1, and they're still a thing that's happening in the background, and it sounds like they're actually somehow involved in Cade's death, potentially. So there's a whole bunch of really interesting lore political stuff going on that's, I could ramble about it forever, but it's super cool and super interesting.
Yeah, sweet.
But other than that, I picked up Rage 2.
Hey!
Because that came out... I was expecting it to come out today, but it actually came out like day before yesterday, like in the evening.
Yes.
So
I will just say as well, I have purchased and installed and I'm ready to go on it as well, but I have not yet loaded the game. So your opening impressions are all we've got tonight. So
okay, yes. So I'm kind of glad that Adrian's not here because this gives him more time to talk about it. I'm not going to talk too long, but it's a great game with massive issues with pacing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so you know how at PAX we played that version of it, that you had all these powers and everything. You had some really cool weapons like the shotgun.
Yeah.
And you're running around in these corridors and killing people in just the most incredible ways. It's like, wow, this feels like Doom.
It was like a few levels in kind of content, I thought, at the time.
Yeah. So when you start the game off in Rage, you have no powers, and you have a pistol and the assault rifle. And they're not particularly impressive weapons. And so you start the game out feeling really underpowered. And the gunplay's good. The gunplay's better than Doom. And that's going to sound really bad when I say that. But Doom didn't have to rely on its gunplay, right?
Like Doom was the full package. That was the thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doom's gunplay was tertiary. The whole point of Doom was rip and tear, right? And so your guns were just a means to stagger the enemy so that you could get in there and kill them. Whereas Rage needs to rely on its guns. So its gunplay is better than Doom. But without all those really interesting powers and everything, you may as well be playing COD. And the problem is that about 2 or 3 hours into the game, I've got a couple of the powers, but I'm not even halfway through unlocking all of them. And all the powers also have a whole bunch of different level ups and everything, which I kind of expected. But I was expecting to start the game off, with like a base level of kind of everything to be able to use and play with, like this really cool tool set.
Right.
But you don't get that. And about 3 hours into the game, I've only just now started to get the cool stuff. It took me 2 hours to get the shotgun, which is the standout gun of this game. Like, I have no doubt that is going to be one of the standout guns, because the pistol and the assault rifle are passable, they're fine, but the shotgun is amazing. It's super fun, and it changes how you play the game. Like, it makes you more aggressive, and it makes you slide around and do all the motions that the game shows off in its marketing. And so the marketing's not misleading. The marketing's hours into the game, which is the unfortunate part. And it feels like the game doesn't put its best foot forward in that respect.
Right.
And I'm also going to make the comment, the open world really lets this game down. Because those really enclosed spaces where you get really cool combat is where the game shines. And then you spend 10 minutes going to the next space where you can have some really cool combat again. But there's nothing on the way that's particularly interesting that happens. Like, maybe later in the game, the bandits actually start getting in vehicles and chasing you. But I haven't run into a single bandit that gave a shit about me while I was driving from point A to point B that wasn't on foot and I couldn't just run them over.
Right.
Like,
that sounds like a similar problem to, like, I think Borderlands has that problem too.
Yeah.
Where...
And it kind of feels like the game's trying to be a lot of different things. Like, there's a lot of you remember that Mad Max game? There's a bit of that in there.
I never played that, but I did hear plenty afterwards. Yeah.
So there's a ton of vehicles, like a whole variety of vehicles, but it doesn't make driving around any more interesting. And some of them are just awful. Like, there's a motorcycle that I hopped on at one point, and I'm never going to use it again because that thing sucks to drive. It's really nasty. Whereas the starter vehicle you get feels a little bit like the Warthog from Halo. So it dovetails and everything. It's actually kind of fun. I actually kind of enjoy that. But there's nothing to shoot with it. Like, you're kind of just driving around in this empty space, going from battle to battle, basically. There's arcs kind of scattered around. So there's a bit of Fallout in there, in the same way that you would find a vault and get a whole bunch of really neat upgrades. There's these arcs around where you get your powers and new weapons and such. But it literally feels like the open world is just there to extend out your time by moving from point A to point B. There's nothing interesting in the world so far that appeals to me to make me want to go out and explore it a whole lot. Like, I was wandering around on foot, and I'm like, maybe they've done a bit of Fallout, in here, where if I just wander in a direction for a little bit, I'll run into something interesting. It's like, oh, look, there's a little suburban style area. I wonder what's out there. And it turns out the thing that's out there is nothing. Like, it's just a bunch of set dressing, basically.
I've heard today a number of people refer to the open world aspects of Rage 2 as very like Breath of the Wild, in the way that it's quite expansive, but you have to go away before you find anything sort of interesting. Is that a fair comparison, or do you think it's not like that at all?
I think that's an unfair comparison because Breath of the Wild is actually really interesting to explore, right? Like, there's little secrets hidden around and everything in Breath of the Wild. You feel smart for finding them. But the only thing I've found so far exploring in Rage 2 is a whole bunch of graffiti that was floating away from a wall. Like, like, deadly serious. Like, I was driving past, and this is on the main path from the starting area to the very first quest the game suggests you go to. And on my way past, I'm like, that graffiti's hovering. So I pulled over and went and had a look at it.
That's awesome.
Breath of the Wild, I felt like that's an open world where there's always something nearby to do.
Yeah.
Like, there's always hidden Korok seeds or chests or goblin camps and...
Yeah, it's not so much in terms of the lack of content that I heard the comparison. The other thing I think they were trying to get at is how in Breath of the Wild you sort of start the game, and besides a very brief bit of sort of forward direction that you get when the game kicks off, you can kind of literally go anywhere.
So like the aimlessness aspect of it.
Yeah. Like it's not so much, you have to go to level 1 area, then level 2 area, then level 3 area. It's more sort of, it kind of sets up your overall, the whole game objective from the outset, and how directly you choose to chase that is kind of up to you. So
yes, there is that.
Yeah.
Like, it basically gives you 3 major objectives and people to go to speak to, and you can just completely ignore the game when it suggests going to the nearest one and drive to the opposite side of the map. There's nothing stopping you doing that.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know if the game cares about levels. They do kind of suggest this is a 5-star combat difficulty area or that sort of thing, and I think it goes up to like 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
But I've gone into those zones and like, okay, this is a 5-star area. I should be prepared for a big fight. And I've completely destroyed it and been like, that was 5 stars. Like, that was supposed to be, particularly hard. But those areas can be right near the start of the game, like where you actually come out, like the very first tutorial area. When you leave that, there's a 5-star area on the map from the start. So it's not like zones are more difficult than others right at the start, it seems like. I haven't gotten, like, I'm only like 3 or 4 hours into the game, so I can't say what the rest of the game looks like.
Yeah.
But yeah, like my first impressions was like, there's that whole trope about games giving you a whole bunch of powers at the start and then taking them away when you get out of the tutorial area. And it can feel really bad, but I also think it exists for a reason, because it sets some expectations for what you're going to be doing at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Whereas Rage 2 does not do that. You start off really underpowered, and then the first ability you get is the ability to dash left and right, and it doesn't feel amazing. Like, it has a really long cooldown of like 3 seconds, and you're just moving left and right. It's like, I can already strafe. Like, cool, I can now strafe faster. It's not particularly interesting. But yeah, it's not bad, but my biggest disappointment has to be the He's on Fire cheat.
Oh, okay.
Because that thing was something I was seriously looking forward to. And, like, because it's such a cool idea. Like, okay, we're going to put an NBA announcer in the game that's super hyped. And he's going to get amazingly hyped. You're running around there and killing things. I'm like, that's a hilarious idea. And it feels like from the marketing, that suited the game really well. And it does totally suit the game really well when it works. But I'm walking around in a city area where I'm literally not allowed to use my guns or use my powers or anything like that. And constantly, the announcer is shouting in my ears, "You've got overdrive, use it!" And like, I'm like, dude, I'm not going to go and just murder all these innocent people. And he does it like every 30 seconds to 60 seconds. It is constant nagging and the most frustrating thing, to the point that I had to just turn it off, because I was just, you would talk to like a big, major, important NPC, and he would be in the middle of his dialogue, and then you'd suddenly have, "You've got overdrive, use it," over the top of that. And it would actually silence the NPC.
Oh, no.
And then drop that out. And then the NPC would keep on talking. It's like, I've just missed like a couple of seconds of dialogue here. I have no idea what's going on now.
Yeah. So it's one of those things you save for a big encounter and then use it sparingly.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Yeah.
It's like, it's a really cool idea, terribly implemented, and it's really disappointing. But when you're out in the wild using it, like 90% of the time, it feels amazing. except for when enemies are fighting each other. And the narrators are actually narrating that as well. And talking about them, like, blowing each other up and everything. But he's talking like it's you doing it. Yeah. So, probably the most surprising thing was there's actually a female character you can play as at the very start. I didn't see any advertising about that, and she's fucking awesome. Like, I've been playing with her because I'm like, I'm going to play as a female character for a change, and you get a hint for what their voices sound like, and she sounds so much more badass than the dude. Like, she's a lot of fun. But yeah, so there's some really good stuff in here, and I imagine that I'll probably have more comments later, but it does not feel good so far in the first couple of hours.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm looking forward to digging in over the next 48 hours, and hopefully we can compare notes as the week progresses. It looks like an interesting discussion to be had for sure. So
yes,
yeah.
Definitely.
Nice. All right, well, I'll jump in quickly with just a couple of small things because I've actually been away for the last week. So when we recorded last episode, I pretty much jumped on a plane and buggered off for 5 days. So when I was over sort of enjoying myself, sipping margaritas and relaxing in Bali, I got a little bit of gaming done, not a huge amount. I did some travel gaming, so I loaded up some Tetris 99 and got to play the new offline mode of that, which has just gone live in the last week as well, which is perfect for travel, I got to say. So, yeah, like Tetris 99, I think is actually still probably one of my favorite games this year. It is just such an exquisite game in its simplicity, and if you're a Tetris fan, you'll love the hell out of it. But the thing that has happened with Tetris 99 now is that now that the initial period has sort of cooled off from its release, like the people that are left playing that game are the absolute fucking murderers of the Tetris world. Like, you know, in the opening weeks of playing Tetris 99, I think my highest finish was a second place. And I've had a few thirds. I've never gotten higher than a second. Now I'm lucky if I scrape top 10. It is real tough out there. So, you know, playing the offline mode gives me a little bit more breathing space to kind of just enjoy it a bit more and sort of polish the skills without feeling like I'm going to get slain in, 2 seconds flat. But yeah, it's good. Like if you enjoy Tetris, I can highly recommend it. And the other thing that came as part of that update as well is there's like a marathon mode that you can do now, which basically, it's like a cumulative score sort of challenge that you can do, which is really cool. So yeah, Tetris is rad. But I also pulled out a game that was kind of part of our theme this episode, which I played pretty heavily when it first came out, and then for some reason I got distracted and dropped it and didn't finish it. And that is Pokemon Moon. I pulled out my copy of Pokemon Moon and actually went about trying to finish the damn thing because I didn't realize that I was actually about, within the last quarter and I hadn't actually wrapped it up. So yeah, that was a thing. And I remembered, like, why I didn't like it. Going and playing it again.
Which is?
Oh, okay. Don't get me wrong. Like, it is by no means my least favorite of the Pokemon main series. Like, it's still a fine game. But there is one particular thing in Pokemon Sun and Moon that shits me up the wall. And that is the Pokemon grooming mechanic. Like, you know how in that game in particular, when you finish a battle, you have the option of like cleaning up your Pokemon and getting all the dirt off them and combing them and feeding them berries and all that kind of crap. I fucking hate that. It is such pointless busy work. It just shits me. Like,
you don't need to interact with it if you don't want to.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like you're kind of losing out on one of the main benefits of sort of building up your friendship meter with your Pokemon if you don't do it, because, when you actually do have them on full hearts, they get additional sort of bonuses in battle where they can sometimes dodge additional moves and sometimes you need to raise their friendship level for certain evolves and things like that. I just hate the mechanic that they've implemented to do it with. I just really despise it. It's way too fiddly for me. I think I would prefer if it was just much simpler. So, yeah, that's a thing. And it kind of, one of the things about it too is that because one of the things you can actually do when you're sort of grooming your Pokemon after the battle is there's like an antidote option, which you can use to remove status effects and that kind of thing. That's fine, and it's a good way to sort of, remove like a poison effect or a paralysis or something like that. But it means that the items that you actually purchase or collect in-game, like all previous titles to do that with, go largely unused, and you just don't need them anymore. So it's kind of pointless. It seems like a bit of a redundant mechanic to me. So, but yeah, anyway, that's my one gripe. The rest of the game's pretty fine. So, yeah. But, apart from that, I haven't been doing a whole bunch, but I did watch something very cool during the week, which I just wanted to quickly mention. So, as we talked about a few episodes ago, Sony Santa Monica put out their documentary on the making of God of War called Raising Kratos. And I watched that while I was away, and it went for a good 2 hours, and it was freaking phenomenal. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Did either of you get a chance to check this one out?
I didn't, but I will get around to it. But yeah, not yet.
Yeah, it was strangely emotional. It was
I've not actually watched any of it yet, but I've seen a lot of game developers talking about it, and like the thing I've heard that it's very like PR has gone over it with some bleach to cover up some of the bad stuff, but there is some good mentions in there about the issues that AAA devs kind of face with crunch and that sort of thing, like some references to people kind of having health problems and that sort of thing.
Definitely.
That raised a lot of stress in some of the game devs that were watching it. So yeah, I definitely want to watch it. The fact that Sony's released that and kind of given that site, even if it's like just a hint at what's going on behind the scenes, it's super interesting.
Yeah, the spin that they sort of took on it, and I had very much the same mindset going in as well, because obviously, studio crunch culture is a huge theme of 2019, and we've seen lots of that, extreme negative effects of it moving forward. The impression I got from the documentary is that they're very cognizant of that, and they don't want to sort of obviously show anything that's too compromising. But the way that they spun it, I thought was actually still quite meaningful in the way that they did it in line with sort of the fear of artists sort of not having their work and their effort and how emotionally invested they are in a thing sort of appreciated by the audience as a whole, like and that big unknown about how things are going to be received before they sort of get out into the public eye. So I don't know if you guys remember, but the 2016 E3 stage show where they had like the live band, the live orchestra doing the God of War theme before they showed off the first footage of the game. When they actually did that first footage run through of Kratos and his son sort of running through and killing the deer and encountering their first sort of troll and that sort of stuff. Like Cory Barlog was actually backstage doing all of the control work himself. Like he was actually playing through the game himself while they were doing that. It wasn't a pre-recorded video. And the whole time that was going on, like he couldn't really sort of see the audience engage their reaction or anything like that. And he was very sort of paranoid about how it was going to be received sort of going in there, because it seemed like there was a lot of the game that still hadn't been sort of finalized by that point. But it was just very cool to see how it all came together. It was a real feel-good story, like at the end of the day, because you kind of know how everything worked out and all of the press and the accolades and the respect that they got after the thing shipped in was just an absolute chart stopper. So it was kind of cool just to see it all come together and all the people sort of who were suffering with their confidence and the sacrifices they made artistically and obviously time away from their families and that kind of stuff. It's just good to know that there is a happy ending to that as you're watching it play out on screen.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I would fully recommend people watch it. Like Matt, I think you'd really enjoy it, despite the fact that you'd probably look at it and go, yeah, sure, what are they not showing? But yeah.
No, I have no doubt that like most of it's going to be really genuine. Like it's not going to be a whole bunch of game developers putting on a smile for the PR. Like
definitely,
I have no doubt that they like a lot of it's also going to be hindsight, right? Knowing that what they did actually did turn out well. I think that it'll be interesting to really watch it. I'm definitely super interested in watching it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, Christian, you've got some good achievements to share this week. So why don't you rattle some off? What have you been up to?
Well, I guess the big thing is I finally buckled under my self-imposed pressure and bought Sekiro on PC.
Can I just say that I don't think any of us were shocked in the slightest when that happened?
Yeah, I was telling myself I was going to wait for a discount, but I didn't end up doing so. And yeah, so I picked up Sekiro on PC, and the main reason I wanted to was actually to stream the whole game, and I have started doing that. So on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/partyloaded, I have started playing through the game. I'm probably about halfway through now. I've done 3 sessions, I think.
Jeez, that's all right.
And so I'm getting through it pretty quickly because I am, pretty experienced at the game now. So I'm blasting through it, but it's really good fun. Even my fifth time through. Yeah,
Jeez.
Still really fun. I still love the core gameplay. And what I'm taking the opportunity to do on the stream is like to talk more about the world building and the environmental storytelling and the lore of the game, just kind of pointing out things in the distance and reading item descriptions and just kind of doing a bit of a tour through the game. Shout out to our friend Nick, if he's listening, for being the one person who I know has watched the whole thing so far. He's actually gone back and watched the VODs afterwards to catch up on the streams, which is really, really cool. So, Yeah, it's nice knowing that there's at least one person who's going to watch the whole thing because it keeps me on my toes. So like I can't just like slack off at a section because I think no one's watching and just like not talk. But that's good. That keeps me motivated to actually put on the show. So
is it the Twitch equivalent of picking your nose in public? Is it?
It is, yeah. But like there's always going to be someone looking. So yeah, I can't get away with it. Yeah, but that's good. So yeah, I'm going to be continuing that. I probably over the weekend I'll try and finish the game. So it may not be in time for any listeners, but it may creep into next week as well. So might be able to catch the last stream if you're listening to this.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, I played more Hearthstone as always, but I did get an achievement this week, which was I got the legend rank, which for the I think fourth or fifth time.
Fourth would have been my guess. I know you've done it at least 3, so
yeah. I think it might be the fourth time. Yeah. So this is when there's 50 ranks in total. You get set back 5 ranks at the end of each month. And if you can crack rank 1, the top of rank 1, then you move into legend, which is like a sort of second tier. You always get booted out of legend at the end of the month. So basically you can grind your way up to legend, but it is a tough grind. But I did manage to get there. This is, I think, definitely the earliest into a month that I've got legend, being on the 10th. When normally it's quite late in the month that I'll actually crack it with the times that I do. And it's the first time I've also reached legend with a control deck, I think. The other times have been like more aggressive decks or mid-range decks, but this was with Control Warrior, which is a very slow deck to play. There are some, like I use a match tracker that keeps record of all sorts of stats, and a couple of my matches were like 40 minutes plus on the way up, compared to like 7-8 minute games with like an aggressive deck. But it had a really good win rate, and it took me to legend pretty quickly, all things considered.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's a fair time investment when you're trying to crank up the ranks. That's a full day of play. If you're going to do repeated 40-minute games, that's an investment.
Yeah, fortunately, that was usually just the mirror matches where I ran into someone else playing the same deck as me, because they're both decks that are. The deck is designed to grind people out and basically force them to concede because they kind of just have to give up because you've absorbed all of their resources and they haven't been able to do anything. So when there's 2 people just trying to grind each other out, that's takes a while.
Yep. Fun times. All right. Well, let's not grind any further on that. We'll come back in just a moment and chat about some news.
Now it's time to hear some gaming news. Time for some gaming news.
Cool. All right. Well, while we were off this week, it turns out that another PlayStation State of Play presentation dropped. And there was some very cool stuff in this one. I actually quite like these new Sony State of Play format prezos. They're very, very sharp and to the point. Like I would say even more so than the Nintendo Directs. Really.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which is cool.
It's like when Nintendo do the Directs that are focused on like one thing, like when they did that Smash Direct, and you just knew that it was just going to be about Smash. Like that's the kind of feeling I get from these State of Plays where it's like very focused in on one thing or a very small number of things.
Yeah, for sure. We don't always know what it's going to be ahead of time, though, which I actually quite like. I like the surprise. And turns out this time there was actually a significant surprise because a game that we had almost forgotten about because it was that long ago it was first announced, turns out is actually still coming, and it may now, maybe be coming a little sooner than we thought. So we finally got another trailer for the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Holy shit. So this thing's looking real pretty. It looks a bit different to when we saw it a few years back. But yeah, it's still looking real good. And I'm super keen to see how this one actually rolls out. In the end, it's going to be very, very nice. So yeah, a bit more gameplay in this trailer as well, which was very cool. Looks like it's very much capturing the original Final Fantasy VII feel and mechanics while giving us a 2019 sort of, redo of all the graphics and in-game sort of cinematics and that sort of stuff. But yeah, like Barrett's look and voices changed quite a bit from what I remember in the original Final Fantasy VII. So
it's basically Mr. T in the original.
I'm totally fine with this.
Understand.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's still going to be an episodic game though, which makes me a little concerned because, I don't remember how long the game used to be when it first launched, but my brain's telling me like even if you didn't go and fight the final two weapons, like it was still about a 60-hour game, roughly, by memory. So you're breaking that down into an episodic kind of format. Like we have a big enough problem with things like Life is Strange at the moment where, you know, it takes over a year to get, you know, 5 episodes of the damn thing. How long would it take for them to release a full Final Fantasy VII game? Like if they do an episodic format, that's
yes. I'm thinking of it like episodic is the term that's being used, but it's almost like they're just breaking it into multiple games. Like they're gonna be self-contained games. Like they're gonna be, you know, 20 hours plus content for each one for sure. It would be my prediction.
Yeah.
And you know, we do have the foresight of knowing where the story ultimately goes, but there'll be tons of people playing Final Fantasy VII for the first time, myself included. I'd never actually played the original, despite knowing a lot about it through osmosis. So I won't feel necessarily like I'm getting like a third of a product when I don't know all the steps of how the story goes. So it will just feel like one game to me, I think.
I don't think story pacing wise it would suffer from being broken down into say maybe 3 or 4 parts, but you wouldn't want to go more than that, I don't think.
3 seems to be the prediction I'm hearing, and everyone seems to be saying that the first one is clearly like everything in Midgard, which is, from what I understand, like the first 5-6 hours of the game, but that'll probably be stretched out into like 20 plus.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does look good.
We will see. It's an interesting format for something like that anyway. But
the severe graphical like difference between this and the original trailer as well is very telling of like behind the scenes development stuff, because when the game was first announced, it was the studio CyberConnect who were working on the game, but then Square Enix were unhappy with what they were producing and then kicked them off the project and started developing internally. And it looks like, from what people have analyzed, they scrapped everything that CyberConnect did and just like started from scratch.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would explain why it's been so long coming, perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps.
Well, apart from that, we also had some other stuff, so...
Yes, something that hasn't been so long coming, because it's new content for a game of last year, which was actually my game of the year last year, and that's Monster Hunter World. So the same State of Play presentation. We got some new info on Iceborne, which is the first expansion for Monster Hunter World. It was announced a while back, but now they've shown off a bunch of the monsters that will be coming, more about the world, and some new gameplay systems they're adding. Like your character in Monster Hunter World has a little like slinger, which is like an accessory that can do a bunch of different things. And they're adding some more options for the slinger to use it while your weapon is drawn instead of having to switch to it, so to sort of weave its way into the main combat a bit smoother.
That's handy.
And there's also a clutch claw, which is like a grappling shot, which is very appealing. Because I'm still thinking of Sekiro so much, he has the grappling shot too, so it makes me think of that. And there's going to be new weapon combos for all the existing weapon types, and probably a new actual rank in the game. So previous Monster Hunter expansions have added G rank, which is basically like a new game plus sort of thing. So even if you've maxed out everything in the original game, there's like a new tier of difficulty that you can still go through and enjoy. And there seems to be something similar in that, although they haven't called it G rank. New Elder Dragon, and bunch of cool stuff. A lot more content than usually comes in a Monster Hunter expansion. It does seem to be really, really quite beefy. And it's going to have a price tag that reflects that at, $40 US compared to the $60 for the base game when it first launched. So I think to us, that's probably going to be...
It's like a Destiny Forsaken sort of expansion.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's going to be like a Forsaken sort of situation. So I don't know how much that costs retail. Maybe $50 here, $40 here.
Interesting. If it includes the full base game as well, I guess that's not too bad if people haven't picked it up before. So yeah. Interesting. The thing I'm most concerned about is like how hard it will be to get back into that game, because it's something that I feel like the barrier to entry, just sort of getting used to all the systems and stuff again, would be quite considerable. Like it takes you a real while to get in. So yeah,
I definitely can feel that. Even for me, having not played Monster Hunter in so long, it would take like you almost have to get back into the entire game just to get back into the expansion, if you know what I mean. Like you'll have to engage with more than just the expansion to actually get a feel for the game again.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
If you've got a save game at the higher levels, there's no easy onboarding again because everything will just thrash your ass. So
Yeah.
That's a good segue into the fact that World of Warcraft Classic is going to be coming out in August on the 27th. Because that is a dramatic difference from modern World of Warcraft. It's a much more slow and plodding game, much more thoughtful and much more difficult than modern World of Warcraft. There's a lot more. It's a lot more verbose, I think is a good word for it.
yeah.
It's set to roll out in stages, so it's going to actually be releasing raid content in much the same way that they originally released it. So it won't just be everything at once that vanilla World of Warcraft kind of had to offer when they do Classic. Probably the most interesting thing that surprised me, though, was the fact that it's going to be included for all World of Warcraft subscriptions. So they'll just have more reason to actually stick around with that subscription model. You better play standard World of Warcraft, the modern version, and get Classic for free, I guess, essentially.
That's a cool way to do it, to guarantee enough numbers in that server, I reckon.
Yeah, I reckon that they're probably going to start off with a couple of servers, and within a couple of months, there's going to be just a single Classic server that people will be playing on. Because I think people really want it, but I don't think people will stick around for it. And a lot of people are going to be wearing those nostalgia rose-tinted glasses, and are going to be very surprised at just how very different Classic World of Warcraft really was. So
I think the big divide is going to be the number of people who want it to just stay at Classic forevermore, or those who actually want it to start following some of the initial timeline through to Burning Crusade and then Wrath of the Lich King. So
what I would love to have seen is, like, let's not just do Classic. Let's do Classic the way we wished we'd done it the first time around.
Yes.
Because, like, that would be amazing, right? Let's do Classic and bring Transmog in from day one in Classic World of Warcraft. That would be awesome. Let's not touch the skill systems, like, because that is a Classic thing, right? But, like, little additions like that, I think would be super, super awesome. But that's not what we're getting. Like, people made it very, very clear that they would have been unhappy if the textures got touched up, because that wouldn't have been Classic anymore. And I think that's a terrible idea. Like, getting Classic World of Warcraft with all the flaws it had back on day one, I don't know.
It's like they don't want the quality of life changes because it'd be a rite of passage to not have the benefit of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you do want something that's a little bit more sort of pretty and modern in a World of Warcraft setting, may I interest you in a little bit of Hearthstone? So, all right, we do have something new related to Hearthstone that's still coming off the back of the last expansion. So, the single player content, which is going to be basically featuring a heist mission, is going to be coming out. I think it's in the next 48 hours, actually. So by the time you listen to this, it's probably going to be out. So the Dalaran Heist solo adventure is going to be coming as part of the Rise of Shadows. And unlike what they've done with recent solo adventures, this one is going to have that kind of roguelike kind of dungeon run style to it, but they've made a whole bunch of, similar to what we were just saying a second ago, quality of life changes to make this thing a lot more. The way I'm going to spin it is I think it's a lot more sort of choice driven rather than RNG based. So the random nature of some of the single player content that they've had in the last few expansions is that, like, the choices that you get as you're building your deck through the encounters is very much like you run the gauntlet and you luck out and get good card selections, or you don't, and that really determines whether you can beat the final boss or not. Like, the drop off in terms of challenge rating between the last couple of encounters and then the final one is severe, and if you don't have the right deck for the last one, then you've almost been wasting your time leading up to it. It seems like this time, because you're actually going to have the ability to edit your deck between rounds and also play casual matches against like a tavern keeper instead of engaging the next sort of boss encounter, there's going to be a lot more time to sort of get to grips with your deck and practice with it and tweak it before you take it into the next stage of the encounter. So it's a much more methodical method of working through that single player content rather than just sort of, throwing yourselves to the mercy of the wolves. So I like this approach a lot. I think it's going to give the single player content a much better result in terms of player investment to reward. And I think the replayability of it will actually be quite improved as a result of that as well. So, Christian, did you have any thoughts, sort of being the other Hearthstone player?
To be honest, haven't looked much into the details of Dalaran Heist. I'm quite happy just to wait till it's out and then jump into it. But from what I can tell, it does seem to be a kind of a hybrid between the old adventures they used to do and the sort of roguelike like content they've done for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It seems to be somewhere in between where you are actually having to pay to play it. You're not getting cards from it, but you do get card packs. And then there is some more deck building to it that has more longevity as opposed to being as sort of quickly one and done as the recent stuff. So I'm interested in definitely playing it. I feel like the rewards could be more interesting than just card packs. It's only, I think, 15 card packs all up for getting every chapter. And I mean, the actual content itself is a big part of the appeal, not the rewards that you actually get. But I don't know, if there was a hero portrait or a card back or something as well in the mix, it'd probably be more appealing to me.
Yeah. I mean, I try and take the goggles off of like an experienced player as often as possible when they do stuff like this, because the reality is that we're maybe not the exact target audience for it. Like, I think a lot of players that play like we do will sort of get it and enjoy it. But for people who are coming into the game new and that don't have that investment in a huge card collection, this kind of stuff is still really good. So allows them to play with a lot of stuff they wouldn't normally have access to. This time there is a cost associated with it. You do get the first part of the 5-stage adventure for free though. So even if you don't pay for it, you still get a fair chunk of content, which is good. But yeah, I don't know. I'm all about it. I think it's great to have more of this kind of stuff in the game, and I'm glad that they're changing up the format a little bit. So
yeah, I think it looks good.
Yeah. So something else that looks a little good and might actually have me coming back to it before too long if it continues along this route is Red Dead Online. So yeah, remember that game? Remember that game that we all talked so much about last year? For good or for ill?
I'd rather not remember it.
Well, I don't know, Matt, you might actually be a little bit more down with this. So Red Dead Online is actually going to be introducing a full-on role-playing system this US summer. So there's actually going to be a whole bunch of different vocations that players can actually have in the game. So you could be like a trader or a collector or a bounty hunter, all this sort of stuff. There's going to be a whole bunch of new free roam missions added, different showdown modes. They've literally just put poker into the online game as well, so you can play multiplayer Red Dead poker with people, which is pretty cool. I actually did quite enjoy that from a single player perspective, but yeah, like this whole addition of roles allowing people to sort of, pick a specialization and level up within that role sort of while they're, riding around the frontier. That sounds cool to me. I like the idea of that rather than just being like a, random murder hobo. So I think that having a bit of direction to the way you play that game and sort of, not treating it like GTA Online where you're basically just, trying to troll and mess with as many other players as possible just for the sake of causing wanton destruction. This one seems to be focusing in and leaning in a bit more on the story elements of the game. I kind of like that take on it. So, yeah.
Well, to quote my boy Thor, is it though?
Well, it is what you make of it.
Yeah, like it is certainly a role-playing system in that you have roles and you play them. But I don't know. Like having read through it, like you could make the argument that Grand Theft Auto 5 introduced role-playing systems because you can go out and buy yourself a club, right? Like whether or not that actually kind of pans out in Red Dead Online, we'll kind of see. But yeah, like my major issues with that game were always kind of the core stuff to it. So unless they end out going and fixing the control schemes, I'm probably not going to bother.
No, that's fair enough. I think the key difference, between the two is that, GTA Online has always been more about wealth and property and acquiring as much of that as you possibly can. Red Dead, it seems the direction they're taking with it is going to be much more about sort of building your character in terms of like its abilities and things. So,
Yeah, that's way more interesting to me. Like, I actually boot up GTA 5 again recently, and it's a fun game to just putz around in. But it's certainly not interesting because I have no attachment to my character other than, wow, I've got him some really neat clothes and a nice car.
Yeah.
Whereas there's not really any sort of character development in there. Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Though, speaking of character development, John Wick's getting a new game, or a game, their first game. And it's a super interesting kind of combination. Like when I heard who was working on it, I'm like, that's interesting. So it's being worked on by Mike Bithell. of Bithell Games. So you may have heard of him. He's the creator of Volume and Subsurface Circular.
Oh,
so
hell yeah.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure Thomas Was Alone was him as
Yes, it
well.
was.
Yeah, I think it was his first game, I think.
Yes. Yeah, pretty sure it was. So he's like, when I think John Wick, I don't think Mike Bithell. Which isn't to say that Mike Bithell's bad at all. It's just a very, very different flavor from what I kind of expected.
Didn't he do some tactical shooter game in the past?
Maybe.
Correct. Yeah, I'm going to look that up quickly. You keep talking about.
but like the what he has actually created, his team has created in John Wick Hex is super interesting because I think it fits really well. Like when you look at John Wick, you think of all that hardcore action and everything like that, but translating that into a game that actually makes the player feel powerful would be incredibly hard to do. And so what they have done is a really, really smart kind of in-between where they actually have a strategy game, essentially, where it's XCOM, but your only soldier is John Wick because you don't need anybody else. And it looks amazing. Like, it actually looks really, really cool. I'm not entirely sure I'm sold on the art style, but yeah, in terms of like the actual gameplay and like as far as teams to choose, I'm not sure about the gameplay design kind of match, but certainly in terms of their rep and the fact that they will make something good, yeah, I think it was a good decision, at least to that respect.
Since the makers of Crypt of the Necrodancer got to do a Zelda game, I'm no longer surprised by stuff like this.
Yes, no, it didn't surprise me so much. The thing that surprised me was just seeing that Mike Bithell was working on it. Basically,
Volume is the game I was thinking of, and it is kind of similar, but that was more top down, sort of turn based tactical, whereas this is kind of more over the shoulder ish from what I've seen. But I haven't looked at it. But Volume is
top down.
Yeah, Volume is quite similar.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. That might be why they actually went with them. But yeah, other than that, there's also another little bit of very interesting gaming news, and that's in the fact that Netflix is hosting a panel at E3 this year, which seems to be teasing some gaming news. The panel is called Colosseum, and there's a couple of I've seen a couple of my game dev friends actually saying that they will either be on the panel or part of the panel in some respect. Whether or not they're actually sitting on it or if they've had some part in it actually becoming a thing, I don't know. But yeah, it seems really interesting. Like, there's been a lot of talk about the Stranger Things game adaptation, which I'm not sure I'm totally sold on it. It looks okay, but it's very arcadey looking, which I didn't really want for my Stranger Things game personally. But given what they did with Bandersnatch this year and the fact that that is a game, it's on Netflix, but it's a game. I'm really interested to kind of see where they're going with this and if it's basically an announcement of a whole bunch of games being developed by other studios, or maybe if Netflix is doing stuff internally, because I could have swore I remember reading some stuff recently about Netflix hiring game developers. So it'll be very interesting to see how this pans out.
As a content delivery platform, Netflix is uniquely positioned should it choose to do more stuff in the gaming space.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned that it's this show's called Colosseum. The panel's called Colosseum.
Yeah.
That makes me immediately think of Stadia.
Maybe.
Stadium.
I thought the Colosseum was actually
streaming
just
related.
part of E3 that did some of this off-the-cuff sort of stuff. I'm not sure if it's a wider collection of talks or not.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is a panel at the E3 Colosseum.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, because this is the part of E3 that Jeff Keighley hosts, I think, each year. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not Netflix has got something they're working on called Colosseum or anything like that. All right, gotcha.
Yeah.
So scratch that Stadia comment. Unless I'm right, then bring it right back.
There's still a big question mark about whether we're going to see any Stadia stuff, but who knows? What we are going to see, though, is some Nintendo stuff. So Nintendo have actually finally revealed some of their plans for E3 this year, and they're going to be doing their usual thing of broadcasting a Nintendo Direct presentation at E3, which will be a fairly major one to sort of... and they're actually going to be doing it on the first day, I think, so they're going to be opening up the... Oh, actually, first day? No, I think it is the third day. It's the same timing as usual. So they've kind of got like a space all to themselves. And they haven't really... You know how the last couple of E3s, Nintendo sort of had like a big focus on one particular franchise? Like they had the big Breath of the Wild focus one year. and then they had
Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, last year was all Smash and that sort of thing. So they haven't kind of, revealed their cards this year and sort of said whether it's going to be like a big new generation Pokemon focus or whether it's going to be something else. My hope is still that they suddenly turn it around and go, hey, new Animal Crossing, that's our big theme this year, or something like that.
I think that's the two big contenders are Pokemon and Animal Crossing.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So, the jury's out on whether we see anything in the lead up to E3 to support either of those theories because, they don't necessarily stop holding directs before E3. They could still have another one. In fact, they've got a Mario Maker one happening in the next couple of days as well, I believe. So, yeah, might hear a little bit more about that. But I don't know, Nintendo's still always a bit of a wild card. You do get some surprising stuff at their prezos. So, yeah, we'll have to see. And they've got a big focus on their esports stuff this year as well. So they've got like a big Splatoon 2 tourney and a big Smash tourney happening during E3 as well. So, yeah.
But they have confirmed they're not going to be talking about any new hardware, though.
No, that doesn't surprise me. And I wouldn't be expecting to see anything Metroid related either, given what we sort of heard earlier in the year. But that still leaves quite a bit of stuff that they could announce. So, whether we get some Bayonetta 3 stuff or, any other Platinum sort of fun.
Astral Chain.
Yep, exactly. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But, yeah. All right. Well, until then, we are going to shelve all of that news and we're going to talk about the real news of the week, which, of course, is a certain little yellow mouse with electricity coursing through his veins, called Pikachu. The movie came out, Detective Pikachu. Have you guys seen it? Did you actually get a chance to go to the cinema?
I didn't get a chance to see it.
I didn't get a chance either.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's okay.
Have you seen it, Luke?
I have seen it. I'm just going to very briefly talk about it, and then we're going to do something a bit fun on the same sort of theme. So we thought... I'll just skip ahead to what we're doing. So we thought it'd be fun, like given that the big theme of the week is the new Pokemon movie. We're gonna, because we all have a bit of a passing knowledge of Pokemon, some more than others. Christian's an absolute fucking Pokemon maniac. And it's a shame that Adrian wasn't here tonight because he's definitely a fan too. Matt, you've dabbled a bit. I'm probably somewhere between the two of you, but we all collectively know enough to make this a bit of fun. We're going to do a bit of a Pokemon quiz tonight. So anyone who is listening to the show who has dabbled with Pokemon in the past themselves, we're going to give you a chance to see exactly where you rate on the scale tonight in terms of being a Pokenoob or a Pokemaniac, basically. So whether you can get it or not. But most of these questions are going to be fairly... closed choice responses. You'll have multiple options. It's not like you will just, have to know something off the top of your head regardless. But before we get to that, Detective Pikachu, guys, you should go and see this movie. It's great. It is, I'm going to say I would liken it to the feel-good sort of buzz I got after I saw the first Lego movie. It was very similar vibes to that. Yeah. So
that's nice.
Yeah, it was. It was good.
I've heard good things.
Really, really good sort of showing of the world, the representation of all of the different aspects of the Pokemon themselves and the way they interacted in with the human characters and that sort of stuff. The acting was, fairly decent most of the way through. Few exceptions, but there always is with, movies that are targeted towards kids. But the ending was absolutely incredible. And like third act weirdness aside, because they did some fucking off the wall weird shit. When things wrapped up and you actually get the resolution to the main sort of story about, Detective Pikachu sort of, having amnesia and not knowing, what happened to him and why the main sort of character, Justice Smith, can actually hear him talk and nobody else can, and what's actually happened to his father in the game. Like all of that wrapping up is very satisfying and I think very touching and heartfelt at the end. And that's the best thing I can say about the movie. Like they absolutely stick the landing at the end. So
cool.
Yeah,
sounds good.
It's good. You should see it. But on with the quiz. So Christian, how are we going to do this? What's the format?
So I mean, we each have a different theme to our questions, right? So I'm doing some true and false. They're going to be based on Pokemon controversies, specifically towards the wider franchise, not just the games, but the anime and the property itself. And then Luke, what's your questions going to be?
So I'm going to be zoning in on some of the Pokemon type stuff. So types are a massive theme in all the Pokemon games, whether it's the types of the creatures themselves or their moves and things like that. But yeah, most of my questions are sort of themed around what things can be gleaned from Pokemon types. So
okay, and then Matt, what's yours going to be?
Mine's totally on brand, and I'm doing game development themed Pokemon questions.
Very on brand.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so I'll kick us off then with my true false controversial questions. And then we'll just keep track of I'll put it on you guys on an honor system to keep track of how many you get correct, rather than tip-tapping on my keyboard and causing a lot of noise to keep track of everything. So just keep track yourselves and be honest.
So we're going to do all
10
questions and then
points.
all answers for each of our separate ones, or are we going to do answer after each one? How would you like to do it?
Let's do all of mine, then all of yours, then all of Matt's.
Okay, and then answers at the end? Or
Answers at the end.
Okay, cool.
Answers at the end. Because with true or false, you can sometimes get like a feel, there's been 2 false ones in a row. The next one's probably going to be true or whatever. So I'll reveal them all at the end.
All right, sweet. Sounds good.
Cool.
All right. So first, true or false. In a Pokemon episode that was scheduled to air shortly after the 9/11 terror attacks, it was pulled from the US due to a scene where the Pokemon Whiscash causes an earthquake which collapses a tall tower. True or false?
I feel like I remember that. I'm going to say true.
That's going true.
I'm going to say false. I think that there was a similar thing, but I don't think it was a 9/11 related incident.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's a good split there. That's good. All right. The next one. Lawyers representing the estate of deceased martial artist Bruce Lee unsuccessfully attempted to sue the Pokemon Company over the Pokemon Hitmonlee, claiming it was an unlicensed parody of him. True or false?
Oh, jeez. I hate these questions already.
That sounds dumb as shit. I love it. I'm going to say true.
I'm going to also say true. Yeah.
Okay. You're both saying true on that one. All right. In the Safari Zone episode of the original anime, the Kangaskhan kid, a wild boy raised by Kangaskhan, says to the character Misty upon seeing her, "Are you people or Pokemon?" In the English version, however, in the original Japanese, the line was, "Can I suck on your breasts?"
Oh my god.
True or false?
I want it to be true, but I'm going to say false.
I want it to be true, so I'm going to say true.
All right, so we've split there again. That's nice. Okay, next one. Anime episodes featuring the Pokemon Teddy Ursa are banned in China due to the Chinese president Xi Jinping being upset and somewhat sensitive about comparisons between himself and teddy bears. He doesn't like things with teddy bears in them. True or false?
I know part of that's true. I'm going to say true.
Yeah, I'm going to say false. I think Matt's right in that part of it's true, but I think it's a different creature. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So you're split on that one as well. That's nice. All right, next one. In 2001, the Grand Mufti of Saudi Arabia issued a fatwa against Pokemon due to it containing gambling, the theory of evolution, deviant religious symbolism, and that it pushes the international Zionist agenda.
Oh, glorious.
Oh my
True or
god.
false?
You could quite literally have comfortably said true to all of these, and that's disturbing. I'm going to say false.
Yeah, I'm going to go false on that one too. Something doesn't sound quite right about it. Yeah.
Okay. We've got 2 more. In the episode All Things Bright and Beautiful, Team Rocket and a large amassed group of other Team Rocket members all do a Nazi salute and seem to goose step. This was edited out of the Western release.
True.
Yeah, true.
True? Okay.
I'm sure I've seen something about that.
Yeah.
And then the final one, Israeli sham psychic Uri Geller sued Nintendo over Kadabra, claiming that it was an unlicensed parody of him because it bends spoons and he's the jackass who reckons he can bend spoons with his mind. True or false?
Well, he is a jackass, so I'm going to say true.
I'm going to go false for that one. Yeah.
All right, we're split there too. Okay, so we've got all our questions out, and you've got all your answers, and I remember most of your answers, so you can't hide that from me.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start with the 9/11 terror attacks one. That one was false. So I think,
Damn.
Luke, you got that one right?
Yeah, he did.
There was an episode featuring Whiscash causing earthquakes that was pulled, but it was from Japan, and it was after an earthquake in Japan. There was a different episode with the Pokemon Tentacruel that was attacking a city that was delayed after 9/11, but
Right.
I did the old flipperoo on that one. The Bruce Lee lawyers suing Pokemon on behalf of him over Hitmonlee, that one is false. I think both of you said that was true.
No, I said false. I have a note here.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
The Safari Zone episode with the "Can I suck on your breasts?" That one is true.
Yes.
That one is true, and it actually, in context, because in the episode after the Kangaskhan kid says, "Are you people or Pokemon?" Misty slaps the kid, and in the English, that's seems like a huge overreaction. But knowing what he actually said in the Japanese makes more sense. And I think it's supposed to be that the kid is like wild and wants to like feed like he's a baby, but it doesn't come across that way.
Oh, Jesus.
So hang on, what question are we up to? Because I think I might have actually got the Hitmonlee one wrong. Just making sure.
Oh, I think I might have flipped the order around. You wrote them down in order, did you?
Yes.
Ah, okay. I think you both had the Hitmonlee one as false, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I said false.
Yeah.
I can go back to the tapes later. That's fine.
There we go.
We go back to the tapes. We had the anime episodes with Teddy Ursa being banned in China. Do you guys remember what you said for that?
I said false.
Yeah, I'm
That
pretty
one-
sure we were inverted on that one as well. So I think
Dang
I said
it.
2. Yeah, true.
That one is false.
Yay.
So he is sensitive specifically about Winnie the Pooh, though.
Yeah,
not about
that's
teddy
right.
bears in general.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We had the Grand Mufti of Saudi Arabia issuing the fatwa. You definitely both said this one was false, and this one is true.
Oh,
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Bit of a grudge there against the old Pokemon in Saudi Arabia. And then we had the goose stepping and the Nazi saluting. That you both said that's true, and that one is true.
Yeah.
That was featured in an episode and edited out for the Western release. And then we had the Uri Geller sham psychic suing over Kadabra. That one is true.
Sweet. So I got 2 points.
And interesting side note about the Uri Geller lawsuit is that he issued it in 2002, and it's actually still ongoing.
Oh, wow.
Oh my god.
And as a result, I didn't know this, but the Pokemon Company has basically kept use of Kadabra to a minimum just to like cover themselves in the event that they lose the case. So ever since 2002, there hasn't been a Kadabra Pokemon trading card printed.
Oh,
And in the card game,
wow.
Abra evolves directly into Alakazam.
Huh.
that's really interesting.
And Kadabra hasn't been in a single episode of the anime since then as well. He's obviously been in all the games still, but yeah, wherever they can, they keep Kadabra out of the anime of Pokemon. Yeah,
Super weird. All right.
yeah.
Very cool. All right, well, how many questions was that? Was that 6 or 7 total? That was
7 total.
7.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Sweet. Okay, well, I have 7 questions for you, gentlemen. Now, mine are multi-choice, but I've got 3 options for each one. So you'll have to decide whether you want an A, B, or C. And you might want to make a mark on this as well, because it'll be hard to recall what you said otherwise. So,
Yep.
All right. So question 1. Now, these are all type related. So now, first one is about Pineco. So the Pokemon resembling a pine cone. It gets bigger and more durable as it grows and uses saliva to adhere tree bark to its body. What type is it? Now, your options are A, which is grass, B, which is rock, or C, which is bug. Which one of the 3 do you think it is?
Oh,
Grass,
I remember this
rock,
Pokemon.
or bug?
Oh, that's. I feel like it's actually bug. Weirdly, I feel like it's, and that's the strangest sounding of them all. But
Yeah, I think
What was
it's
it?
actually like the grass is there to trip you up because that seems like the logical one. But I think
Yeah,
it's rock or bug. Yeah.
what were the 3 you said again, Luke? Sorry?
Grass is A, rock is B, bug is C.
I'm gonna go for bug. Yeah.
You gonna go for
I'm gonna
bug?
go rock.
All right. Cool. Locked in. Okay, question 2. Oricorio, the dancing bird Pokemon of the Alola region, so one of the more recent ones, has 4 styles that it may appear in. What is the type of the pom-pom style? So imagine
Oh
like
my
a
God.
bird that looks like a pom-pom dancer. So it's either A, electric and flying, B, fairy and flying, or C, fire and flying. So they're all flying. You basically got the choice between electric as the second type, fairy as the second type, or fire as the second type.
I barely even remember this Pokemon at all. I didn't remember it even has different forms.
It's not
But
so much
my
different form. These are the different varieties you can find it in as you sort of
Yeah,
explore
okay.
around. Yeah.
I remember it because
that's right. It's on different islands, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
I remember it because that's actually the yellow one was the island I stopped on. But I don't remember its type.
I'm gonna say fairy for this one.
Fairy?
I'm actually also going to say fairy.
Maybe it's just me being just weirdly thinking like dancing and pom-pomming is kind of feminine and that sounds like the sort of thing they do. So I'm gonna go fairy.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Locked in. All right. Well, speaking of fairy, question 3 is about the fairy type. So the fairy type was introduced in Generation 6 of Pokemon, and as well as introducing new Pokemon with the fairy type, 22 of the existing Pokemon and 3 moves were actually retroactively changed to be of the fairy type. So which of the following 3 Pokemon were not one of the ones that were changed when they introduced fairy type? Okay? Your 3 choices. Now, this is which one is one of the ones that was not changed. Okay?
Not changed.
Not changed. So the first one is Snubbull, who is actually in the Detective Pikachu movie. He's very, very gorgeous. Togepi, who you might remember from the animated TV series as the cute little egg Pokemon that Misty carries around for a good part of the series. And Sylveon, which is one of the variations of the Eevee that evolves into Sylveon. So which of those 3 were not retroactively changed to be fairy type? Snubbull, Togepi, or Sylveon?
I'm going to say Snubbull.
Snubbull?
Sylveon. Hang on, I'm going to be pedantic here, Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Because Sylveon wasn't okay. I'm going to say Sylveon. All right.
You're going to say
I'm gonna
Sylveon?
C.
I
Yes.
think it might actually be a trick question. Yes. Because it can't be retroactively changed if it didn't exist, right?
Moving on.
All right, question 4. Which of the following type attacks would do the most damage to a ground-based Pokemon? Okay?
Uh-huh.
Your choice of what would do the most damage to a ground-based Pokemon are A, fire, B, water, or C, grass.
Try to remember my Pokemon fights. Yeah?
So do you apply logic or do you apply memory? That's the challenge.
Well, the problem is that my biggest experiences with the Pokemon games were with the classic ones, and the rules have changed a lot. So
I'm pretty sure the answer to
Yeah.
this would still be accurate even if you were going back to
it
early
is.
gens.
I think
so-
this
I
is
think it is.
consistent.
yeah.
yeah, I'm going to say B with water.
With water?
Yeah, the catch here, and I'm having to check myself because so many Pokemon are ground rock that I think a lot of people just assume that they're weak to both grass and water, but there is a difference there. And
Yes.
and I think so you said it was water. You said water, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, weak to water.
Weak to water.
Fire, water, or grass?
I'm gonna go for grass actually.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah, I think you might be right, and I might be getting it mixed up. but-
I'm not confident on that one.
Yeah.
I'm not confident on that.
All right, very
Typing's
cool.
never been my strong suit.
All right, well, you're going to love this next question then. So Shelgon, the endurance Pokemon, likes to hide in a cave as it awaits evolution, consuming no food or water at all. What type is it? Your 3 options are, it's either A, dragon type, B, water and psychic type, or C, bug type.
All right, this one I'm confident of, so I'm going to let Matt go first.
If I remember rightly, it's B.
Water and psychic?
Yep.
All right, what do you say, Christian?
A dragon.
You're going to say A, dragon. All right. Okay, nice simple one for question 6. So what type is the attack move called Giga Impact? Your choices are, it's either a fighting move, it's a normal move, or it's a ground move. What is Giga Impact?
Giga Impact.
I think it's A. It's fighting move.
I think it's a fighting move. Yep.
Okay, I think that it's a normal move because there's Giga Punch, I think, which is a fighting move.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Giga Impact is a normal move.
Okay, locking in normal.
Yep.
All right. And the final question, number 7. The ice type of Pokemon is much less common than some of the other types. But how many ice type Pokemon are there in the Pokedex as of this moment?
Oh my god.
And there's a range of responses. So I'm going to give you 3 options. So the number of ice Pokemon is either less than 50 as A, It's either 50 to 70 as B, or it's over 70 as C.
I'm thinking through all my Pokemon. So I'm shit with typing as well, Christian. So
the battle typing is usually what I'm not good at. Remembering the Pokemon types themselves, I'm okay with.
yeah, same.
Yeah.
I reckon
I'm not too
Adrian
bad
could
with
get
that.
this one.
I think you could.
I'm pretty sure it's less than 50. There's not a lot of them.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for too. Is less than 50.
All right, so both answering less than 50?
Yep.
All right, cool. All right, well, to the solutions then. So Pineco, the Pinecone Pokemon, Christian, you are correct. It is a bug type.
Yay.
Well done. So, no, it is not a rock type. It's not a grass type. All right, now, number 2, Oricorio, which is the dancing bird Pokemon, the pom-pom style, is actually not fairy or flying, which is what both of you answered. It is electric and flying.
That makes sense because it's yellow. That's why I didn't choose yellow.
It's like a yellowy-green color. It's a kind of weird combination. Yeah.
Maybe there's like static electricity built up in the pom-poms or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know.
Or maybe its dance skills are quite shocking. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right, so the fairy type question around which one of those 3 Pokemon was not retroactively changed. Christian, you are correct. It is Sylveon because Sylveon was released in that generation.
Totally called it. I totally called it.
But you didn't pick it right.
I didn't pick it because I already locked in my answer.
Yeah. All 3 of the ones that I gave you, all 3 of the ones I gave you are fairy type. It's just which one wasn't retroactively changed.
Yeah.
So,
That's why I was like, Sylveon's absolutely fairy because it tears the shit out of dragon types.
Oh yeah.
So
Yup. Now, interestingly enough, the type of attacks that does the most damage to a ground-based Pokemon is actually fire. So it's not water or
What?
grass. Yeah. So
What?
it does
That
4
makes no sense.
times damage to ground-based.
What?
Yeah.
Fire.
Fire. Absolutely.
Type chart he Googles.
Yeah.
So here's a fun little tidbit that I haven't got in my questions, but so in Gen 1 Pokemon, Psychic was advertised as being really strong against ghosts, but they made a bug in the game that meant that ghosts were actually strong against Psychic.
Yeah.
And so all the strategy guides said that you should use Psychic types against ghosts, and it was actually the worst advice you could possibly get.
Yeah.
I'm calling bullshit on this. I'm sorry, Lou.
Oh, okay. We
but
have
the Pokemon, you're saying fire is super effective against ground.
according to the chart I've been referring to. Am I reading this backwards? Have I fucked this up?
You might be, because four times is only when there's a dual type as well. No single.
The
no
way
single,
you're reading it.
Yeah, no single type can be 4 times.
So the way you're reading it is ground is 4 times effective against fire.
All right. I'm just going to put this one down too. Let's check it after the round, and I'll get back to you on that one.
Okay, if you want to try and save a little face there.
Cool. I will fully admit I may have fucked that one up, but I was pretty certain about it. All right, anyway, moving on. So Shelgon is, you are correct, Christian, a dragon type. Obviously, you know the evolution path of that one.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yep. So not water psychic. Giga Impact is a normal type fighting move. A normal type move, I should say, not a fighting move. So,
there's the Giga Punch is the fighting one.
Yeah, so that was pretty good reasoning. And both of you got the final one correct about the ice types. It is 46 at this time. So, yeah, that is just less than 50. So you both nailed that.
I'm 3 out of 14.
Wow.
So when you introduced me to this, like, you did say that I'm not a big Pokemon fan or whatever. I'm totally a big Pokemon fan. It's just that my history of Pokemon goes way back, and like the original games, I have not kept up.
Yeah. Well, I will say that, Pokemon types are quite tricky. So much so, in fact, that you could feasibly put together a quiz question about one and totally fuck it up.
Yeah. So Matt, you count that one as a point for you. It's a point for both of us, because in reality, water and grass are both super effective against ground 2 times.
Called it.
So,
Sweet. Yep. All right, cool. So, moving on to the developer question. So this is the funny thing. I probably know more about the development of Pokemon than I actually do the Pokemon games themselves and actually, types and everything like that. So this should be fun. But my stuff is also multiple choice. So you got 4 options.
Okay.
So, starting off with number 1. The first Pokemon that was ever created was A, Pikachu, B, Raticate, C, Rhydon, or D, Lapras.
I'm going to pick Lapras.
I'm going to pick Rhydon. C.
Okay. Next question. The name of the Pokemon games when they were first pitched to Nintendo was A. Capsule Monsters. Capsule Monsters, bleh. B. Pocket Monsters. C. Fighting Monsters. Or D. Ball Beasts.
Oh my god. I think we just found our episode title.
Oh my god. I'm going with A. Capsule Monsters.
I'm definitely going with Fighting Monsters.
Okay. Cool. All right. Next question. This is a true or false.
Mm-hmm.
True or false? Nintendo rejected the original pitch for Pokemon.
True.
Ooh, I'm going to go say true as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
true.
All right. Next one. The first Pokemon games were A. Red and Blue, B. Blue and Green, C. Red and Green, or D. The trading card game.
Oh. I'm going to say red and green. C.
I'm going red and blue.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Another true or false. True or false? Development of Pokemon Red and Blue took only 2 years.
Oh.
True.
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Next one. This is a fun one. This is probably my favorite one.
All right.
What causes the Missingno bug?
Oh, yep.
Oh, okay. What causes that? I'm glad this is multiple choice.
Yes. So, A. There is space for 256 Pokemon, but only 151 are used.
Mm-hmm.
B. The player's name is briefly changed to Old Man when he shows you how to catch Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
C. The coast of Cinnabar Island has no encoded Pokemon encounters. Or D. All of these reasons.
Oh, holy shit.
What was A again? Sorry, Matt?
There is space for 256 Pokemon, but only 151 are used.
Okay.
That's interesting. I'm just going to straight up say C.
Is that all of the above, or is that
No, C's the encounters
Cinnabar
one.
Island?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cinnabar Island. All right. So, because I was living Pokemon during like the Missingno when it was discovered, and the way I would encounter it is by surfing the right edge of Cinnabar Island is how I would encounter and catch Missingno. But the Old Man thing rings a bell too. But I think the Old Man is actually used to catch Mew through a glitch. But I'm going to go for all of the above. Oh,
Okay.
Am I? Hang on. No, wait. Because that's where me trying to outsmart the game comes in. Because I know that the Cinnabar Island one, that's how you can encounter Missingno. So I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go. That was C, right?
Yep,
Cinnabar?
that's C.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just gonna go there.
Where are your fighting monster balls, Christian?
I know. Oh.
Okay, so I have 8 questions I'm going to go into. All right, so this is 7. Which of the core Pokemon games were the first to use 3D Pokemon models?
Oh.
You've got A, Diamond and Pearl, B, X and Y, C, Black and White, or D, Sun and Moon.
I'm going to say Diamond Pearl.
They use 3D models.
Yep.
3D models. Okay.
Oh,
All 3D. You're talking mainline games, right? Because they were the console games.
Yeah, mainline games only.
hang on, I'm questioning myself now.
X and Y. I'm going to go X and Y.
Yeah, I think Christian might be right. I'll stick with Diamond Pearl, but I think Christian might have that one.
Okay. And last one, how many core Pokemon games have been released? So this is mainline stuff, none of the Pokemon Pinball or anything like that.
Is this counting
So-
the doubles as
Yeah, is
1
this
and 2?
generations or?
Yes, it counts doubles.
Mhm.
Yep. So not
Wait, hang on,
generations. Not generations.
And does it count the third entries like yellow
Yes.
and crystal and everything?
Yes.
Oh my god! Okay, give me a second. And
So-
is this a Western release or
This is everything.
everything? So
Yes.
green, red, and blue are all separate games.
Yes. That would
Okay.
be correct. Yep. So answers are A, 19, B, 27, C, 31, or D, 33.
Holy shit.
I'm gonna take a second and just try and do this in my
Yeah,
head.
you can totally go and count them up. It took me a little bit when I was sitting there thinking about it.
I'm going to show my monster balls and just say 27 without counting it manually.
So with Luke locking his in, I'm gonna see if I can count on air and get to
Yeah,
it.
go
So
for it.
Okay.
I'm gonna go red, blue, green, yellow, gold, silver, crystal, ruby, sapphire, emerald. That's 10. Diamond, pearl. Are you counting remakes?
I think I did.
Yeah,
yes.
you'd have to. So like fire red,
heart
leaf
gold,
green.
heart gold and soul silver, fire red, leaf green. Then we've got black, white, black 2, white 2. That's up to 20. Then X, Y, Omega, Ruby, Alpha, Sapphire. Then were there X and Y remakes?
No. No, they weren't.
No, they weren't. Were there? And then there's Sun and Moon, and then there's the souped up Sun and Moons. I can't remember what they were called. Was 28 one of the options?
Ultra Sun, Ultra
No.
Moon.
Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. What were the options again then?
19, 27, 31, or 33.
Is Christian going to try the
And that's-
Price is
and
Right
that-
rules?
So yeah, because I thought I counted up to 28. So I've either made up a game, miscounted on my fingers, or I'm missing games. And I'm going to go for missing games, and so I'm going to say was it 30, 31 or 30?
Yep, that's C.
Yeah, C. I'm going to go for C.
It's the missing no.
All
Yeah.
right. Awesome. Okay, so the answers, going back. The first Pokemon ever created was C. That was Rhydon.
Nah.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yep, so you got that one correct.
Yeah, I remember. I've seen the original sketch. Yeah.
Yeah.
The name of the Pokemon games when they were first pitched to Nintendo was A, Capsule Monsters.
Yep.
Keep on getting that wrong.
Ah.
My mouth just isn't working. True or false? Nintendo rejected the original pitch for Pokemon. That is entirely true.
Yay.
They rejected it several times until Miyamoto did the pitch.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
So I think we both
Yep.
got that.
Yep.
Yep. The first Pokemon games were Red and Green, which Christian got correct.
Ah. I
That
thought
was
it red
released
and
in
green.
Japan.
That was in Japan, and West it was red and blue.
Oh, okay. Cool.
The true or false development of Pokemon Red and Blue took only 2 years. That's false. It took 6.
Okay, got that one wrong.
Yep. What causes the Missingno bug? The answer is D, all of the above.
Okay.
Wow.
That's actually, that thing is a deep dive because it's really interesting. It turns out that they had actually planned to do 190 Pokemon, if I'm remembering
Yeah, 'cause
rightly.
most of the Pokemon from Gold and Silver were originally part of Generation 1,
Yeah.
but they split it.
And what ended up happening is that they had actually put in the Pokemon data, but then deleted them, but it left a whole bunch of empty slots. So you have 39 variations of Missingno in the game. And that actually appears depending on the name you have, and it changes its stats and everything. So when you speak to the old man, it actually stores your name in the Missingno slots and spawns out a Pokemon based on your name. It's really interesting.
Huh.
Okay. Yeah. See, in my mind, I was imagining you were describing a situation where talking to the old man triggered Missingno.
Yeah.
But that was just part of the equation. That
It's
goes
part
into
of the
calculating.
equation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because the Cinnabar Island thing is definitely where you actually
Yes.
encounter Missingno.
Literally
It
one of the
absolutely
elements of
is.
the RNG, sort of a part of the bug. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
And that
really fascinating.
I think that is also one of the ways that you can glitch Mew without using a trade link cable is
Yes.
by setting your name to a specific thing and then doing a specific sequence of movements and talking to the old man can trigger
Because
Mew.
one of the questions I was going to have was about the truck and the whole
Yes.
rumor about Mew being under the truck, which finding information
baseless.
about... Yes, it's baseless, but you look online and there's some people that still claim it's true.
It was the ultimate schoolyard rumor.
Yep.
It was so good at the time.
It
That and
was.
like Pika Blue, and there were all sorts of Pokemon rumors. But
So here's a little bit of Pokemon trivia, but they had actually said there was 151st Pokemon in all their marketing so that they would create that sort of, rumor mongering among people and build all the hype around the game because it's like, where's this 151st Pokemon? So which core Pokemon games were the first to use 3D Pokemon models? That would be X and Y.
yay!
Yeah.
Did you watch the new Frame Plus video, Matt?
I have not watched it yet.
It's fantastic. He does a dive through every generation of Pokemon games and how the animation changes through each one and like the new elements they introduce. So that was kind of fresh in my mind, the XY jump to 3D.
Yep. And the final question, how many core Pokemon games have been released? The answer is C, 31.
Ooh.
Yay!
I had put in 33 because if you counted Sword and Shield, you would have gotten it wrong.
Not released, though.
Yeah.
Not released, exactly.
Yeah.
So yes, there you go. Christian came out with a lot of points in that round.
I got one.
Well, I have all of the scores for all of the rounds combined here, so let me just check them with the one that I fucked up, which you guys both got correct. So 3, 6, 18, carry the 2. Yeah, Christian won. Yeah. Nope, 3 points. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I have played every single Pokemon generation on release and most of the spin-off games, and yeah, I'm a bit of a Pokemon nut.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm a Pokemon nut, but I just like... I think for me, the big issue was, I think I might have actually mentioned it before when we were talking about Sword and Shield and the fact they're coming out on Switch. Like, I hated playing Pokemon games, not because the games were bad, but because I just could not hold the 3DS well. And it was just really uncomfortable. And that turned me off playing Pokemon games. So I will probably become a super Pokemon nerd again when Sword and Shield comes out. I have a life-size Charmander just to my left right now, so it's not like I dislike the games.
Yeah, I actually booted up my original silver version in my Game Boy Color like last week.
Oh wow!
But then I remembered that the battery is dead, so I can't actually save the game. Like the battery in the cartridge is dead.
Oh no!
Yeah.
So I can change it for a fresh one, but I haven't done that yet. But.
Yeah.
There's another piece of development trivia. They called that So Pokemon and Nintendo, namely, was actually replacing cartridges because that battery went dead after a year of gameplay. And so there were a whole bunch of people really early on actually having their cartridges die, and they it was the berry bug or something like that. I forget exactly, because the berries wouldn't grow because it was a daily event and it required the battery.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that would suck.
That would suck so much.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm actually really thankful that they've got the whole sort of cloud transfer of all the Pokemon into the Pokemon Bank these days, which is obviously setting up for future generations. But that takes a whole bunch of the fear factor out for me of having to dig around for old cartridges once you transfer them. It's much easier to keep that all together.
I still have Pokemon from when Ruby Sapphire first came out that I've transferred all the way up. That was the first generation you could actually do that. There's no way outside of emulation to transfer from Gen 1 and Gen 2.
Yeah.
But everything from Gen 3 up, you can transfer forward, and I've maintained a lineage since then.
Except for the digital versions of Gen 1 and Gen 2 they've made available to download onto Switches now. And
from the original releases.
Yeah, totally. It's amazing how much sort of forwards and backwards compatibility, well, actually forwards compatibility only, I guess, that they've... Forward compatibility? Backwards that they've made
backwards compatibility
across absolutely everything. It's a feat considering how long they've kept that going for, and I actually think that that's probably one of the biggest reasons why the whole series has been as successful as it has, because they've got the same people coming back and using their old monsters that they caught years ago, which is just incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I wish I still had my old cartridges and everything, because I played so much of my version of Pokemon Red and Silver. Like, I played so much.
Yeah. It'd be cool.
Yeah, I lost my blue somewhere along the way, but I've still got my silver, which I'm so glad of.
Yeah. Nice. Right, well, if you've been playing along at home, how did you do? Did you actually manage to answer all the questions correctly? Did you manage to put your own questions together? Did you manage to put your own questions together that were correct? Well, you've probably done better than me, so...
Please don't shame me for my horrendous score.
That's it. I think all things considered, Matt, you probably did better than me after that. So, but anyway, yeah, let us know your thoughts on how you did. Send your email in, of course, to mail@partyloaded.com. You can hit us up all the usual places. So on Facebook, we're Party Loaded, Twitter @Party Loaded Show. And aside from that, make sure you check out the rest of our stuff over at the main hub at channelendgame.com. And of course, on to our Twitch streams upcoming. So, Christian, you've got more Sekiro to be firing through.
Yep. For sure.
So make sure you check that out. Matt, I don't know about you, but I'm actually feeling the urge to stream some Rage later this week. See how that goes.
Definitely want to do some Rage. And I want to play some of our Party Game of the Month as well with people.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Deep Rock Galactic. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be good times. Yep.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that's a short list of things to do. We've got that to go on within the next week, but we will otherwise be back again in 7 days' time with a fresh helping. Except for Christian, because the bastard's buggering off on his holiday.
That's right. I'm off to Europe. I'll be missing, I think, 3, maybe 4 weeks of the podcast, which will include E3. I will be away for E3.
No!
Sadly.
That's all right.
Yeah.
What have you actually got planned, travel gaming-wise? Anything interesting that you're putting together, or you just don't care?
I actually, just in time for my trip, the Castlevania Anniversary Collection is coming out. So I'm going to load that up on my Switch and take my Switch with me, and then that's going to be fulfilling my gaming blind spot designation for the year, where I had to make up for my shame of not playing Castlevania. So I'm going to try and get that done on my long flight to the UK.
Convenient. How many games is in that now?
Yeah.
I forget.
I can't remember exactly. It's 6 or 7 or something.
Oh man, that's heaps.
It's a good number. Yeah,
you'll be a Castlevania expert by the time you get back. That'll be plenty. So yeah.
And I'm also thinking of maybe throwing Final Fantasy VII on there as well.
Oh, okay. Just, don't want to spend any time on your holiday. You just want to play games the whole time. Sounds good.
Got a lot of flights.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, otherwise, we will be back, sans Christian, next week, hopefully with Adrian in tow, and chatting about a whole bunch more fun stuff. Happy birthday again, Matt. I hope you've had a good day, and I hope you've enjoyed spending it with us and everybody else. So until then, we'll catch everybody next week. Thanks for listening. But for now, good night.
Good night.
Bye.
The Party Loaded podcast is a Channel Endgame production. For this and more great gaming content, bookmark channelendgame.com.